President Trump offered Planned Parenthood a deal. Don't do abortions and keep your federal funding. The organization quickly refused that offering.
Abortion is not core to what they do in terms of the number of procedures. It is about 3% of the procedures that they perform.
I would tell you that the Washington Post, which is not the Washington Post, not a conservative rag by any stretch of the imagination, gave that claim 3 out of 4 Pinocchios on the lie test and said it was not true.
Well, a number of independent sources have verified it's 3%. About 90% of their patients come in for something other than abortion.
America's largest abortion chain, Planned Parenthood, claims over and over and over again that abortion is only 3% of the services that they offer.
That's your self-reported abortion statistic.
3% of all the procedures we provide.
It's in their annual report. It's on their website. And their supporters say it all the time.
And abortions only comprise 3% of Planned Parenthood's health services.
Abortion services only account for about 3%.
Because only 3% of what Planned Parenthood does is abortions.
3% of patients visit Planned Parenthood for a safe and legal abortion.
Here's why that statistic is completely bogus. Let's look at the numbers. According to their own annual report, Planned Parenthood commits over 300,000 abortions per year. Last year alone, they did 323,999 abortions, which averages to 887 abortions per day, 37 abortions per hour, 1 abortion every 97 seconds. Again, Planned Parenthood commits 1 abortion every 97 seconds. But how much of what Planned Parenthood does is abortion? Well, let's divide the number of abortions they do in a year by the number of patients they see in a year. 323,999 abortions for 2.5 million patients means that 1 in 8 patients who walk into Planned Parenthood will undergo an abortion. Not 1 in 33, Elizabeth Warren, 1 in 8. To get the 3% figure, Planned Parenthood divides abortions by the number of so-called services, which they define as a discrete clinical interaction. And they count all these services equally, regardless of the cost, time, or effort it takes to render that service. So an entire abortion procedure, which can cost from $390 to $1,500, is counted the same as a pregnancy test, which a girl could get at a pharmacy for $10. In this way, Planned Parenthood is able to count 9.4 million services. Divide 323,999 abortions by 9.4 million services, and they get 3%. It's easy to see why this math is completely ridiculous. Say a woman goes to Planned Parenthood to get an abortion. She gets her pregnancy test, the abortion procedure, an STI test, and some contraceptives. In one visit, she gets 4 services, one of which is the actual abortion. So Planned Parenthood would say that abortion was only 25% of what they did for that woman, who came into the clinic only for an abortion. Well, by this math, even if 100% of Planned Parenthood patients got an abortion, they would still say abortion is only 25% of their services.
This analogy is not perfect, but it would be a bit like going to a Jewish hospital and saying, we'll keep giving you federal funding as long as you stop doing circumcisions. It's not the entirety of what they do. It's not even a majority of what they do, but it is important to their values and their belief system.
All right, Dana, a lot of people have no moral objection to circumcision. They do have moral objections to abortion. The country's pretty evenly split on that, and even though federal funding is not allowed to, because of the Hyde Amendment, go to any abortion procedures. You know, there are those who have questions about the fungibility of the money, $500 million in government money that Planned Parenthood gets every year.
Exactly. Well, and to your point, Shannon, if it's only 3%, of the services offered, then what's the big deal about eliminating that in order to continue receiving those valuable taxpayer dollars? To me, it seems like an easy decision to make. This money that is given to Planned Parenthood, $500 million annually, allows them to continue this abortion mill business that they're running. Without that, they wouldn't be able to run the abortion mill business. And you have community health centers that provide the actual full suite of health care services for women. They provide better care. They provide prenatal care, and they outnumber Planned Parenthood 3 to 1 in every single state in the United States.
And we have a special guest with us. Don Legans is an executive vice president for Planned Parenthood. Don, I'm assuming that the deal, the offer that was made by President Trump was dead on arrival.
Well, I didn't really hear a deal exactly. I heard a disaster for women's health care, and I also heard a White House that is very, very concerned about taking away birth control, STD testing, and cancer screening from millions of women in this country.
There are millions of women all across the country who rely on Planned Parenthood for not just contraceptive care, they rely on it for Mammograms?
We do not have mammogram machines at our health centers, and we've never stated that we did.
What's going to happen as a result of this, if this bill would ever becomes law, millions of women in this country are going to lose their health care access, not to abortion services, to basic family planning, mammograms.
We do not have mammogram machines at our health centers, and we've never stated that we did.
Prenatal care. These are the kinds of services that folks depend on Planned Parenthood for.
And a president who will fight for prenatal care.
Prenatal care. And that is what we want to focus on. That is what is so vital.
Thank you for calling Planned Parenthood. My name. How can I assist you today?
Hi, I was hoping to make an appointment for prenatal care.
For what type of service?
Prenatal care, pregnancy care.
We don't have prenatal care here. Planned Parenthood offers abortion, so they don't offer prenatal care.
Okay, just abortions.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no. We wouldn't provide any type of prenatal services here at Planned Parenthood.
We're not a prenatal care provider. No Planned Parenthood does prenatal care.
Planned Parenthood, we do birth control, things like that, termination. We check for STI, but we don't do prenatal.
I was kind of hoping for an ultrasound because I would love to have, the pictures, make sure the baby's healthy and stuff like that, see the gender.
So we won't be able to tell you if it's healthy or the gender.
If you're, we specialize in abortions, that's what our ultrasounds are for, to see how far along the patient is.
Do you do any ultrasounds in your clinic at all?
We do, but not as standalone.
What do you mean?
We don't do them by themselves.
What do you do them with?
We do them when performing abortion procedures.
Okay, so you said that they use ultrasounds for terminations only?
Yes.
We tell you you're pregnant, and we also at Planned Parenthood do the abortions.
Okay.
Okay.
So other than a pregnancy test, I heard you guys had ultrasounds. Would it be possible?
No, we only do ultrasounds if you are terminating.
Oh. Would it be possible to get an ultrasound to just check that the baby's healthy?
No, not something we offer.
Oh, okay. You don't offer. I thought you did offer ultrasounds, but maybe I was confused.
Well, we do have to do an ultrasound with an abortion, but we don't offer them, so we can't do anything to make sure that the pregnancy is fine.
Do you do ultrasounds here or something?
We do, but only for the abortion.
Oh, yeah. Also, if I was having an abortion, then I could get the ultrasound, but since I want the prenatal, I see.
No, we don't do prenatal services. I mean, it's called Planned Parenthood. I know it's kind of deceiving.
Do you have OBGYNs here?
We do not, no.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Which is a deceptive name, right? I think the same thing.
Or, if you were looking into termination options, we can do that as well.
And Margaret Sanger, Planned Parenthood's founder and hero.
Margaret Sanger is a big proponent of negative eugenics, which was the viewpoint that you should weed out unfit people from the bloodline. So that would be encouraging people not to procreate if they were unfit, feeble-minded, had any kind of mental illness, and that also included forced sterilization.
Words like unfit and feeble-minded were used to describe not only the poor and mentally ill, but also to describe African Americans.
Margaret Sanger stated that birth control is nothing more or less than the facilitation of the process of weeding out the unfit, of preventing the birth of defectives or of those who will become defectives.
In 1921, Margaret Sanger founded the American Birth Control League. Its primary mission was to prevent uncontrolled procreation and establish a world program of birth control.
She states, knowledge of birth control is essentially moral. Its general, though prudent practice must lead to a higher individuality and ultimately to a cleaner race. Margaret Sanger stated that the most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it.
In 1939, Sanger wrote a letter to her eugenics colleague, Dr. Clarence Gamble, a member of the Birth Control Federation of America, in regards to setting up the Negro Project, a birth control clinic for African Americans.
She was speaking about serving what she called the Negro population, and in concluding this portion of the letter, she stated that we do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members.
Sanger believed that having an African-American minister on staff would ease the suspicion.
African American populations were considered some of these unfit members that should be weeded out. So in this letter, she discusses having African Americans serve other African Americans so they wouldn't be aware that they were seeking to terminate them, to exterminate them by the use of birth control and negative eugenics.
Sanger was quite fond of Dr. Ernst Ruden's work, director for the Society for Racial Hygiene. He would later go on to write Nazi Germany's sterilization laws. In 1933, she published his article, Eugenic Sterilization, an Urgent Need, which promoted programs to eliminate the unfit in order to create a super race. In the late 1930s and 40s, knowledge of Nazi atrocities made words like eugenics and population control unpopular in America. So in 1942, to distance itself in name, Margaret Sanger's American Birth Control League became Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood facilities are generally located in low-income areas which are heavily populated with minorities, and a lot of times they seek to reach those minorities to help them with reproductive rights, they say, with birth control and largely abortion.
Independent studies have concluded that nearly 80% of Planned Parenthood facilities are set up in minority communities. It's no wonder abortion is the leading cause of death among African Americans, higher than all other causes combined. Mounting evidence against Planned Parenthood's beginning to today continues to fuel public outcry.
The American people should seek to immediately defund Planned Parenthood so that our own tax dollars don't go to support this organization who has been exposed to be lying to the American people for many years, for committing these egregious acts against the youngest children among us. They should be immediately defunded.